All right, so I have my sketches, and now I'm putting the faces on top. Just kind of plotting them in to show my own arrangement of things. And as human beings, we have evolved to be very picky about how we recognize faces. There are certain portions of our brain that are dedicated to recognizing faces and landmarks and recognizing very fine distinctions. And we know this because you can get a certain type of brain damage that targets only one region of the brain. And it's a condition called prosopagnosia, where you can't even recognize faces. They all just kind of look alike to you. And that's kind of what I think of when I see animals at the zoo. It's hard for me to tell the different animals apart, but those animals can easily tell each other apart. So that's why with caricature, I can get, just by sketching this way, I can get people that look like humans. But without really looking and analyzing their faces, I'm not going to get it to look like them or variations of them without doing this next step. Kind of finding the structure and basic shape and the template of their faces. And they're a beautiful family. So it'd be nice to put some of their likeness into it. So I'm not a slave to the photo reference. Instead, I'm using it towards my own composition. I am not distorting their heads much yet. I'm just enlarging them and placing them and angling them. And then I'm just taking the opacity of those photos down a little bit. Oh wow, that layers pretty well on my sketch. And now this allows me to do another kind of sketch, a basic shape sketch, a template sketch, kind of like you see of the apple here. All right, so now I'm actually going to turn off my sketch layer, my shape sketch layer, turn off my photo reference. Now I just have these. These are all at about 60% or so opacity. Kind of like having a tracing paper over them. And what I'll do is a new layer on top. I'll call this my basic shape layer, or basic shape sketch, or basic shape sketch template, to use all those buzzwords. And I want to diagram their face. Now, I don't want to do that in a color that's going to get lost, so I'm going to use what's kind of traditional, which is a non-photo blue, kind of a middle blue color. I'm going to shrink my brush a little bit. And now I am basically going to do this exercise to their face. First thing I need to do, it's very easy to see here, or here, is I can kind of draw a line down the middle, see where the bisymmetry is, see how the angle is working, and then draw the line through their eyes. You see how that's halfway from here to here. All makes sense? But the shape of the head is always very unique. So kids don't have such strong jaws because their teeth aren't as big. So you'll notice that this shape is like kind of a bulbous egg shape, not a skinny egg. It's almost a pear inverted. So if I want to play with that and caricature it more, I know that I can get away with exaggerating the top portion and shrinking this bottom portion. Right. But right now I'm not trying to exaggerate. right now, let me set my eraser here, be a little more effective. Right now, I'm just trying to understand what makes them look like who they are. So their eyes, 5 eye widths across the face, is that true? Yes, but for whatever reason, because of his hair, it feels like there's more than 5 eye widths, because his ears are coming out at a strong angle. His ears are growing above his eye line and below his nose line because his nose hasn't quite caught up yet, because we grow in kind of fits and starts. Notice his nose fits between the eyes. It all fits this template perfectly, but on a different shape. And then the mouth is a little bit lower than here because the jaw doesn't have those full-size teeth. So from halfway, on kids it's usually halfway from the nose line to the chin is the center of the mouth. And you can see if I draw that triangle through, I can actually get the corners of the mouth. And the mouth is open in a smile, takes up that much space. And then we have the hairline coming 1/3 of the way down on this top half. And I want to recognize kind of the shape of that hairline. That's the generic shape of him. His eyebrows give him his expression. And then the angle of his neck is pretty important. It's off to one side. And then the size of his pupils and how much of the white of the eye do we see? We see quite a bit. And the shape of the eye is quite important. So I might kind of sketch that in. So that's what makes this kid tick. His lips are fairly thin and equal top and bottom. Notice the space above his lips and below his lips. These are all things I can work with. So I'm kind of mapping the face so that I know where to paint details. Okay, now why did I do him first? Well, for my sketch, he's really the only one that I have facing straight forward. You see that? He's just facing the camera, facing the audience. Though my reference for these others is looking straight forward, I want to draw them at an angle. So I'm going to show you how that can work. But to start that, I need to map what I see. So again, following these facial template rules. First, establish the top of the head, top of the cranium, the bottom of the chin. Draw the line straight down, find that middle eye line. Some people don't believe the eye line is in the middle of the head, but it just always is. They get confused because the hairline is lower. The hairline is at least 1/3 lower. He has actually kind of a low hairline. Lucky guy. Very squared off. And his eyes are 1/5 of the width across his skull. Right? But his egg shape, this is always very unique, right? Is almost rectangular. It's very flat on the sides, very broad at the bottom. So I can play with that. Oh no, see what I'm doing? This is why we need histories. I'm painting on the wrong layer. So what can I do to save that? Well, let me just select all of the blue on that layer and copy it. So Command C. And then I'm going to go back in my history before I did all that painting. This is why we save at least 200 history states. Okay, and now I want to go onto my sketch layer here, and I paste that sketch I did on, and then I can overlap it. Crisis averted. Glad I recognized it soon. Because I want this sketch to be separate, right? And I can merge these two together. select them both, Command E. So you can see how broad his face is. Now his eyes are matching these same rules as these, but just very different egg shapes, very different face shapes behind, and it gives you a very different impression. Because of the broadness of the jaw, those eyes look much smaller, but they're not. Okay, nose is halfway down. Nose fits between the eyes. His nostrils are a little flared, so they go slightly beyond. So that's his nose shape. I'm noticing if the noses are upturned, downturned, straight on, slightly upturned here, so I have kind of a triangle plane here, and straight on here. Very little space you can see between his mouth line and his nose. So when he smiles, he gathers his lips up close to his nose. Thin lips, thin smile, and look how much space there is for his chin. So that's something to recognize in the caricature, and to exaggerate if you want to. I'm trying to do a flattering caricature here, like you might see on a Christmas card or something. Get the neck in there, get the smile lines. I can't usually use this trick to figure out the width of the mouth when they're smiling, because this is when the mouth is relaxed. But you can see how that triangle fits, how that musculature makes kind of little coat hangers in here. All right. Very good. Next. 2 down. Now this is the first photo reference that's actually curved. So how do you deal with that? This one's just barely curved. So the way you do it is, instead of drawing the line straight down, you curve the line through and around, just like drawing the line on an egg and then turning the egg a little bit. I'm going to erase. I want to get this right. So it goes around and down. Okay, and then the eye line, same thing. It's going around and up. And then the egg shape is not an egg shape anymore, because we're seeing the cranium here, which is like the fishbowl of the skull, and then we're seeing the mandible, the jaw. And so we're not seeing a symmetrical shape. We're seeing more of a skull shape. This is what's called a 3/4 view. And when I do caricatures professionally, political cartoons and things and likenesses, 3/4 view is the best way to show how people actually look. So I'll usually get multiple photo references and then use a 3/4 view caricature. The ear fits nicely between the eye line and the nose line, but most of it's covered by hair. Then the eyes are 5 across, but you'll notice because it's at this angle, the measurement that's more important is that there's one eye line between the eyes, one eye width between the eyes, because it doesn't look like there's much there, and there looks like there's too much there because of the turn. The bottom of the nose also becomes a little lopsided, but it still lines up with the bottom, with the inside measurements of the eye. The nose is slightly upturned. This has more space and a bigger lower lip. More space between the bottom of the nose and the top of the lip. Just paying attention to all those. Gonna map those smile lines. And the closeness of the eyebrows to the eyes, which has a lot to do with personal expression. Okay, so that's kind of how her face is made up. Little smile lines under the eyes as well. Okay, and then her hair builds up beyond that. And this